All right, and let's go.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
You really adopted the dark. I was born in it.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Bazinga.
Two in the box.
Ready to go.
We be fast.
They be slow.
Cool. Bear.
All right, welcome to the Mt.Geekmore podcast, your favorite podcast where you come to watch, listen, and hear people debate their top four Mount Rushmore, if you will, of their favorite pop culture subjects. Today's pop culture subject, as you can tell by looking at the screen, if you're watching us live or pre-recorded on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch, is the Mt.Geekmore of Robin Williams. If you are listening to the audio version of this a week from now, then just know that you could go back and watch the video and see our beautiful faces. I am Nary Science. With me, as usual, is David.
Howdy.
And Daniel DeBona.
What up, y'all?
And today we have special guest back to the podcast, friend of the show, David De Rosario.
How's it going, everybody?
That's his actual voice. That's what he sounds like. The host.
No, I know. Yeah, it's very different, but yeah.
You gotta commit to it now, David.
All right.
The whole
that's
bit,
how
an
I'm
hour
gonna
and a half.
talk. That's how I'm gonna talk.
All right. So today we're doing the Mount Rushmore of Robin Williams films in honor. Be it a little bit late. We are like 4 or 5 days late as of time of the recording this of Robin's birthday. He would have been 70, I believe it was. Am I correct in that?
That sounds right. Let me look that up just in case.
Somebody fact check.
Yep. He would have been 70 on July 21st.
Would have been 70 6 days ago. So we, in honor of him, because we are all huge fans of him, we are doing the Mount Rushmore of Robin Williams films, which is, to be honest with you, quite shocking to a few of us that we haven't already done this.
This is something that we've bounced back and forth. Like, oh, you know, we should get to a Robin Williams one, and then it gets put on the back burner because, you know, we're doing something in honor of like 4th of July or something in honor of, you know, something else, and this just always got pushed off.
Genuinely thought we'd done it for a second when you first suggested it.
Yeah,
I thought you guys had done it too, but you know, like it's fucking stupid me, right?
Fuck me, right? I'll be over here. Yeah. So anyway, I'm glad we're doing this because we're all huge fans. It's so funny because I had originally called somebody else to be our fourth, and they were like, don't really know much about Robin Williams films, and I'm like, I don't even know how to answer that.
I can't process that.
Yeah, like, I don't know how to answer that. I'm like, okay, I guess. Sorry. Like, I deleted his number off my phone. I was like, whatever.
Yeah, no, you have to. You have to.
Makes sense. All right, so let's get it going. David, tell us how you. I'm gonna call you De Rosario, and I'm gonna call him David. That's so we're gonna clear that up right now. Dave, how did you come up with your selections?
So you're not gonna be calling me David at all. You're just gonna be calling me Dave then.
You know what? This one right here, that one's fucker. And
all right, so it's only 3 of us this week, and Jesus,
That was great. That was good. That was good.
All right, how did you make your selections?
So there were a bunch that came to me right away, and I did like a quick search, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that one, and I remember that one, but I kept going back to the same couple ones. So I did kind of make a rule for myself. I said I'm not going to go all comedy, and I'm not going to go all drama, because he's like pretty much unmatched in both. Like he's just incredible at everything. So I do have a nice split. There's some comedy, there's some dramedy, there's some drama, there's you know, little bit of everything.
Woo!
Mm-hmm. Hold on, I can't mix.
That was good.
Hey.
That was a really good breakdown.
Thank you very much.
I can't have you guys both after one another. The Bona, What do we got? How did you come up with your selection?
So it was the same type of thing as Dave. Like I tried to think about just a lot of different things. I tried to think about his role specifically in the movie as well. So even if it's not necessarily like specifically a Robin Williams vehicle, like I've definitely got one on my list where he is not the main star, but his role in it is just phenomenal. And I did the same type of thing. I kind of ended up getting. I've got some drama. I've got some comedy. I got a little bit of everything that he can do. Kind of these are all the ones where I feel like he was doing it at his best. I've got one that might be a little controversial, so I can audible in another one if need be.
Okay, all right.
I already know which one you're talking about.
The Rosario.
Yeah. How did I arrive to mine? I just I'm not. I know I'm gonna have like a couple of them that are gonna be like for sure, absolutely, and then there may be like one where you're gonna be like really. And I had a lot of honorable mentions, but yeah, again, there's gonna be movies on my list. You'll be like, oh, but dude, you didn't put that fucking movie. I'm sorry, can I curse on here?
Yeah, what are you?
Yeah.
Fuck no.
We're not your mom.
Hey, so but yeah, I didn't break it down like you guys how you guys did it. Where like first of all, I can look at his serious movies and break it down into one thing, but then it's like the comedy and a little bit of like what seemed to have been a comedy, especially in my list, almost felt like a drama in some ways. Like it was kind of my way of looking and be like, because you brought it up, or like, oh, he did, he obviously won the Oscar for a drama, but like. I'm looking at my list. I'm just like, is it all drama? Is there like a little bit of comedy mixed with this? And that's the beauty of Robin Williams.
Yeah.
I think the beauty of him was his hairy arms. That was
that too.
The way I made my selections is I didn't pick any comedies and I didn't pick any dramas. These are all horror movies. So this is what I went with. This is what I went with. I just picked the 4 movies that I like the best, man. And he had enough in his. He was always working, so he had enough in his filmology that you could, you can't be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, some like 63, 64 films.
Yeah, but there's a lot of movies that sucked. Let's not fucking there's some movies, especially in his early career. There's some movies that fucking sucked, but there's some movies that are just outstanding masterpieces and it should be enshrined in some fucking archive somewhere.
It's like on a mountain.
Right? Like fucking with a chisel and a hammer and fucking dynamite, man. So all right, so let's get it going. Let's start.
With the 4th pick.
Number 4. Round 4.
I'm in no mood for your wives crack. Let's get it on.
All right. 4th pick. David, what is your 4th pick?
My 4th pick is oddly enough the only movie on my mountain that was not critically acclaimed, but like the consensus among normal people is like this movie's amazing, and it's the only one from my childhood that I loved as a child that made it on the list, and it's Hook.
Oh God, honorable mention, and I just couldn't bring myself to put it on here. But
that much.
Yeah.
This is a movie that, as I think as an adult, means more to me than it did as a kid, and it's because I think the movie works on so many levels. Which it's Spielberg, so he's a complex movie maker. But you can watch Spielberg's movies as a kid and love it because it's visual candy. But he's also always got this sort of like, I don't want to grow up, I've got issues with my dad thing going on in almost every movie. There's either an absentee father or father issues or something like that. And subsequently, the protagonist has this issue with growing up. And so now as a father myself, to see Robin become this guy and then reconnect with his inner child and become a great father along the way. I mean, it's a movie that interestingly means more to me now than it did when I saw it as a kid. It is far from the best movie on my list, and I think that's why it's at number 4.
David, may I interrupt for a second?
Absolutely.
The children are screaming. That's. I agree with you, man. It's definitely there. Hook.
Yeah.
I mean, so much fun. Like, I love the scene when they're at the table and all the food's like imaginary or whatever, and he's just starving, and it finally clicks for him, and that light comes on, and he joins the food fight, and it takes a Robin Williams to so perfectly portray that change in character that physically wasn't a change, but you saw it in him, like when it happened. In that, and that's the scene that I always go back to as being like, God, he's just so good in this movie, and that scene really sells it.
That's we were mentioning at the beginning, like there's a lot of elements of dramedy, right? Drama and comedy in his movies, and I think this is one where because he needs to be almost two different characters from the beginning to the end of the movie. It only works with someone like Robin Williams there. And I don't think that physically he looks like Peter Pan. I don't know that I will ever physically buy him as Peter Pan, even grown-up Peter Pan. But he fucking transforms into Peter Pan.
I buy it.
You know, Peter Pan is a fictitious character, right?
No, I did not know that. What
usually portrayed by a woman.
Yeah, usually portrayed by a woman.
I think you need receipts to back this up.
Okay, all right. I find it weird that you're like, I don't buy him as. I'm like, you don't buy him as a fictitious character. Okay, right. I gotta be. So Hook. I probably learned that it was not critically acclaimed maybe 6 months ago. I'm not like I hadn't. Because it was a movie from our childhood, and in my childhood, I never looked up reviews. Not that I look up reviews now, but I never even entered the zeitgeist. And so when I was going through one of those movies, like one of those lists on Twitter, that's like movies that are better than they're rated, and then I saw Hook. I was like, "Fucking Hook is amazing! What are you fucking talking about?" And I looked it up, and I looked up the count, the reviews, and the percentage, and I was like, "Oh boy, holy shit!" Like I had no clue that the critics hated this movie, and I didn't even realize that it was a Steven Spielberg movie until probably like maybe 5 years ago.
I didn't realize that until Dave just said it. Honest to God, I never realized that was a Spielberg movie.
Yeah, I never stopped to think that it was a
Spielberg
movie.
All of the knocks against the movie are the typical knocks against Steven Spielberg. That it's overly sentimental. That it's not.
Well, they can fuck right off.
That's what I think.
No, but here's the thing, though. They're not wrong. It is overly sentimental. If you're not into that thing, then you won't like it.
Yeah.
But I don't see that's like when somebody says that. Oh, that's too much fun. Oh,
Really?
Okay. I guess. I mean,
It's like when you're watching Chopped and they make dessert. They're like, it's good, but it's too sweet.
Yeah.
What
Like,
the fuck?
what the fuck does that mean, chef? What does that mean? So no, I'm with you. I didn't know it was Steven Spielberg until a few years ago, maybe not 5, maybe 3 years ago, when we did the Steven Spielberg Mountain is when I learned that it was a movie.
I knew it right when it came out.
Yeah, so, that's fine. That's fine. But it's a great movie. I like it. The best part of that movie to me is the way it ended and who he gives the control of the Lost Boys to is the fat kid. And I'm like, you win my heart, my friend. Anytime that you let the fat kid win, be a leader, not just a fucking comedic sidekick. Oh, my friend, you got me.
I was Rufio for Halloween when I was like 19 or 20. So
that tracks.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, and that
he was 30 when he made the movie, so that I mean,
he was finally old enough to.
That part of Neverland ended up being Wakanda, and that kid ended up being the Black Panther.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Hook. So we got Hook. DeBono, what do you got, man?
For my number 4, it is one of the suspense movies, like the thriller type movies that he's been known to do. This is actually the second one that came to mind, but when I really went back and thought about him, I like this one a little bit more. My number 4 is 1 Hour Photo.
You know, this is a movie that I introduced to Dave a few years ago, and I didn't want to give him my thoughts on it, but him and I had the same thoughts on the movie. But go ahead.
And so with 1 hour photo, what was really I was
Oh, this wasn't it. I'm sorry. To cut you off.
1 hour
This wasn't
photo.
it. Sorry, this wasn't it. This wasn't the movie
Oh.
that I introduced Dave to. I apologize.
Oh,
I'm thinking
okay.
of a different movie. My bad. I'm sorry.
But 1 hour photo is it was the movie. It came out. There's another one that I won't say that's a little bit more popular. Is one where he's the villain. But 1 hour photo sticks out to me in the fact that he was so genuinely creepy. If you've never seen 1 hour photo, he's this guy that becomes obsessed with this family whose pictures he develops because he's sad and lonely. And
First of all, if you watch it now, it doesn't make any sense because he's developing film.
Yes.
So that's already fucking super. Like what?
There was a time when you took something like this.
Yeah.
All right. It's called film. All right. You stuck it inside of a camera.
They brought props for my list.
You unroll it and you stick it in a camera, and then you took pictures not on your phone, but on one of these things. Yeah. Look at that.
And then when you're done, and it only takes a certain number. I think the most was 36 at one point.
Yeah, depending on the roll.
Yeah, depending on the size of the roll. And then once you're done taking those 36 pictures, you never see them again.
Yeah. And so he becomes obsessed with his
hope
family.
that they were usable.
Yeah. But it's just he's so creepy. Like the first time I saw 1 hour photo, I had not seen like I said, there was one that came out before where he played a villain, but I had never seen that one. This was the first time I remembered seeing him and I was uncomfy with this Robin Williams role, this character of Cy, the guy who develops film and becomes obsessed with his family. And then just outside his existence being uncomfortable, he goes on to then discover things about this family that then make him angry because he considers himself to be a part of this family. And so he just does such a good job of selling this like loner, miserable guy who's only living vicariously through the photos that he's developing. And the whole thing, it's just insane down to the very last shot of the movie. It's creepy. I don't want to say too much because I feel like it's a movie that a lot of people haven't seen. And there is some really great stuff in here. It's not like shocking, like with gore or anything like that. It's nothing that's going to blow you away if you see it. But there's a couple of little twists and turns, just some things that make it great. But the reason I ended up picking this one is because he is the one who carries this movie. This movie solely exists as a vehicle for this character of Cy to show how creepy and weird he is. And weird, I'd seen Robin Williams do weird, but funny weird, right? Like Mork is weird, but Cy is weird and creepy. And it was just like nothing else I'd ever seen him do. And this one always sticks out to me as his best like villain role. So that's why I went with this one. My number 4 is 1 hour photo.
Okay. 1 hour photo. I saw it once. I remember thinking it was cool. It was fine. Definitely surprised that it makes the mountain, to be honest with you.
Dude, I love it. It's just like I said, it's so left field for so many other things that he's done to just be that. I mean, I don't even want to say like awful. Like it's not even necessarily that he's a bad guy. He's like a really misguided guy who goes about things in a really bad way. It's a really interesting look into the way that loneliness can break a person's psyche. And that's what gets me about 1 hour photo more so than some of the other villain roles that he's done.
It's a really, really great character study. And I think it really shows off his acting chops in a way that a lot of other movies don't. And this was one of the first ones that came to mind for me. But one of the things that kind of helped me make my mountain is how often I'm going to rewatch something. And this movie takes you to such a dark place that I don't know that I've ever rewatched it. To be honest.
I've seen it multiple times because when it first came out, like I went and bought it, and it became one of those things where I'd be like, "Oh, you haven't seen 1 hour photo?" You know, like you're just sitting around on a Thursday night or whatever in the apartment and be like, "Oh, fuck it, let's put it on." It's only like an hour and a half long, and so I've seen it a bunch of times just because I was constantly running into people who hadn't seen it, and I would then force them to watch it.
Gotcha.
I remember I've seen this movie maybe a couple times. I don't think, but definitely not as many as the other movies that he's done. But I will say, maybe because I'm jaded now, being a comedian for as long as I have been, to see a comedian act creepy doesn't really surprise me. So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like it's not like he's a super creepy guy that doesn't deal with loneliness very well. I'm like, So what kind of you want?
So he's a comedian.
He's got 2 shows tonight. That's cool. Like I'm just like I don't know. Maybe that's fucked up. I guess. Anyways, with that said, give me a second here. Trying to share the post, so I apologize. The Rosario. What is your number 4?
So my number 4 is it's a movie with probably one of my favorite directors, Terry Gilliam, and he and the Fisher King.
Table.
With, okay, it's table.
Like it'll come back up.
We're talking about it. We're gonna leave it on the table right now.
All right, cool. But yeah, just sure.
Yeah. All right. Hold on, give me a second. I apologize, guys. I probably should have done this before, but I was doing other things. All right. So my number 4, I know it's gonna get tabled. Fact, it's gonna get tabled. Hold on, Fisher. Let me write this down. Fisher King. My number 4 is Birdcage.
Tabled.
I know. All right, let's go with our number 3s. Oh wait, so number 4s were Hook, 1 Hour Photo, Fisher King, and Birdcage.
Round 3.
3 is a magic number. Yes, it is.
All right, David, what's up? What's your number 3?
So my number 3 is one that you introduced to me, and this is one that I knew a lot about, but had never actually seen until, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, and I'm certain it's going to get tabled. It's Good Will Hunting.
Table. What's an insult? Yeah. All right. Let's go. Go Will Hunting. Good Will Hunting. All right. DeBono, what do you got, man?
So my number 3, I have an audible ready if you guys say that this is not an acceptable pick, but when I think about just the role, I feel like that this role very much embodies a lot of who Robin Williams is. My number 3 is Aladdin. As Genie. Am I allowed to have an animated pick?
Why would that get tabled?
Why would that?
Or
okay, just making sure. Just making sure.
You think we're gonna do another episode in the future of Robin Williams animated film?
Good call. So my number 3 is the animated 92 film Aladdin, and with his role as Genie, because I think that because of what they could do since Genie was animated, I think it's the closest that we've ever come to seeing like the soul.
What's inside Robin's head?
Yes, exactly. Like this is the closest we've ever come to seeing his truest self because of the
I'm sorry to interrupt, but if that's like when you say table, what does that mean?
If it's higher on your list, table it.
Oh, it is higher on my list.
Okay, then table.
Yeah. I thought I heard him say table as we were talking, and I'm like, no, he yeah.
No, right. I just didn't know.
No, it's all good. I just didn't hear you.
Table means that we're leaving it. We're going to leave it on the table, and we'll talk about it later on because it's coming up on my list later, or on somebody else's list later on. So if you table something, you're gonna
got it.
All right. The Rosario, you've done this before.
Yeah, no. I just haven't. Listen, man, it's been a while. All right. My number 3 is I just want to get the Cosby thing out of the way, up top, and but he was in this movie with Robin Williams, and I'm talking about a movie called Jack. It's about the dude that reverse ages. It was Benjamin Button's before.
Yeah. No, he doesn't reverse age. He ages at 4 times the normal rate.
Yeah. He gets older, but he's young. It kind of just tells you to be young at heart. Like that movie. You got J-Lo in it. He saved all the red gummy bears for J-Lo, and I was like,
whatever happened to her?
She went the way of the whale. Of the whale. No,
I wonder how she looks nowadays.
She's doing great. She's doing great. She's dating Batman.
52.
Yeah, she's 52 dating Batman. So
yeah.
I mean, what do we got?
That's my dream. That's my dream.
Yeah. But yeah, Jack is my pick because I thought the story it was like one of those that kind of left you going like, huh, especially that graduation scene at the end when he's like super duper old, but he's really just like a teenager. It was just like, oh man, this is such a weird feeling that this movie is making me have. But
yeah, I always found it creepy because I was always like, because even though the movie, I get them, and there are beautiful sentiments all over the movie, but the fact that I knew when I didn't see this movie as a kid, I watched it as an adult. So already when he looks the way he looks, like he's in his 40s and he's in elementary, I'm like, by the time he gets to high school, this is before I knew the end, and I'm like, by the time he gets to high school, like he can't fuck nobody. Like he's gonna die a virgin. Like I just immediately thought that. I was like, because high school is usually, for the most part, again, painting with a broad brush, is when we all lose our virginities, right? Sometimes throughout the high school years. And I'm like, you can't fuck nobody that looks like you're 70. Like you can't do that. And then the ending happened. I was like, yeah, this guy's definitely a virgin. Yeah. Definitely a virgin. Like, that's the only thing that kept up in my head. Again, super creepy, but yeah, I get it.
But who played his mom? Diane Lane.
Lane.
Played his mom in that. It was just also spectacular. Just did such a great job. Oh, absolutely. But it's such an interesting movie because that's another one, right? Where we see this full-grown Robin Williams, but it's like we're getting to see him act like a 10-year-old, and it's like he's probably pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah. That's what I liked about it. Is like how is it reminded me almost like Clifford with Martin Short. It gave me that kind of idea of like this dude who's like really 40 years old. Like how old was Martin Short when they did Clifford? Like like he's supposed to be portraying this innocent child. So it was kind of like that effect, but it was with the actual like genetics behind it. So I was just like. It was for me. I thought the movie was kind of cool because it had that whole thing of the aging and everything like that. So I was like, and then it's Robin Williams. So I was like, so Jack holds a special place in my heart.
Good pick, man. I didn't even think about that one. That is a good pick.
Thanks.
Wow. Cosby was in it, so that's part of
yeah. No, I mean that's a large reason why I picked it. So
too soon. No, not for the joke. The fact that he's out of jail. Too soon.
Yeah, way too soon.
Right.
All right. So my number 3 is. My number 3 is. I'm gonna be honest, bro. It's gonna be Mrs. Doubtfire. That's my number 3.
Katie's throwing that one up in the comments too.
That is right. That's why I didn't mention it.
I figured.
Am I the only one that's gonna have Mrs. Doubtfire?
Mrs. Doubtfire. Mrs. Doubtfire is what if for some reason Aladdin wasn't allowed, Mrs. Doubtfire is what I was gonna say.
Nary, I gotta say it. Table.
Oh,
okay. Thank God. I was really shooketh. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Am I the only one?"
I had to call an audible because David dropped Hook. And then the second time around, that's why I asked. I was like, wait a second, how does this thing go? But I was just like, so I did a little switcherooski, but we're back on track.
All right.
I had to struggle between Hook and Mrs. Doubtfire.
And for me, it was Mrs. Doubtfire or Aladdin.
Yeah.
You chose
poorly.
We'll get back to the Holy Grail. We'll get back to the Holy Grail.
All right, hold on. So the number 3s were Good Will Hunting, Aladdin, Jack, and Mrs. Doubtfire.
Round 2.
Dose, the sequel to Uno.
That may have been the quickest round in the history of this show since we only discussed one of the picks.
Yeah, I guess. All right. So, David, what do you got for your number 2, man?
My number 2 is a movie that I talked about quite a bit when we did our favorite movie teachers or fictional teachers, and it's Dead Poets. No, Dead Poets Society.
Table.
All right.
Society. How do you
so
spell?
There's my whole list.
Wait, it's how do you spell overrated? Never mind.
All right. Jesus, we gotta do this. We gotta do this a fucking game.
They're born
every
of
every time. There's no dead horse that Neri walks by, and he doesn't immediately think, oh, you know what? I should beat that thing.
My number 2, we can talk about it now. My number 2 is The Fisher King. The Fisher King is a spectacular movie. It is one of 2 Terry Gilliam movies that Robin Williams has done. Actually, his other one I'll get to when we get to honorable mentions. But the Fisher King,
that's the one I thought you were talking about.
This one is a better performance from Robin Williams. I think that the other is it's a wilder Terry Gilliam movie. But this one, top to bottom, is a better film. And it's definitely a better Robin Williams performance. What's amazing about his role as Perry in The Fisher King is it takes a Robin Williams he plays the role of this guy whose wife died horribly, and he has a complete and total mental break, like separate from society mental break. Like, he doesn't know who he is, who he was. He doesn't know what's going on. He's a man obsessed with finding the Holy Grail. But what's amazing is how quickly he can change from being a guy who is obviously not living in the same reality as the rest of us, while he thinks that he's a knight who's been quested with finding the Holy Grail. And then the next second, he's a guy who's just head over heels in love with this woman that he's never met. And then when he does finally get to meet her, he's sweet and he's endearing. And then just as quickly as all of that happens, it all goes away for him in a split second. And he goes back to being this guy who has very, very deep like illusions of what's going on around him. And it's this amazing role. And the thing about The Fisher King is it is essentially a Jeff Bridges vehicle. Like, that's who the main story of redemption is about Jeff Bridges. But the Robin Williams role here, there are a lot of times when you watch a movie and you're like, all right, this guy was like perfectly cast. And then, maybe so-and-so could have done it. Maybe so-and-so could have done it. But when I think about The Fisher King, I honest to God cannot see anybody else turning it off and on with the way that Robin Williams was able to do this as Perry in The Fisher King. If you have not seen it, it's a movie from, I don't even remember. It's 90s, like through and
92,
through.
93.
Yeah.
Movie even.
It's pure 90s. Like when you see it, like everything about it is.
I don't know, man. I think John Cena could have done this role too, bro. Or comedic.
But it's just you get to see Robin Williams be comedic. You get to see him be romantic. You get to see him be super serious. This is a movie that goes 1 second. A guy, Robin Williams, is ass naked in Central Park, convinced that he can use his mind to break clouds apart. And then a couple of scenes later, he's on a date and he's like this teenager who's just in love and doesn't know what to do. And he portrays that so well. And then on that same date goes on to deliver this amazing monologue about how much this woman means to him, because she's always just had one night stands and didn't know how to handle somebody actually being in love with her. And he reassures her so well. He does everything in this movie. This movie fully encompasses just everything that Robin Williams could do as an actor.
Oh, I have to agree, because I'm not going to disagree at the end of the day. No, but this is all true. And but I think that with Gilliam's style, you know what I was going to attribute it to? It almost felt like that movie, you could almost make it into like a graphic novel. You know what I'm saying? Like it was almost shot that way, especially for a Terry Gilliam movie, which has like these big, crazy like angles and shots.
And there's always like the weird kind of shot where it just twists just that much. Yeah,
like very reminiscent of like the stuff that he does like in Brazil and
Time Bandits.
Yeah, exactly. And no, I felt like it was just shot. It was just shot in that way, and it was such a out of this world character that he played. Like it wasn't too serious. It wasn't too funny. It was endearing. And it was just like within the realm of that movie. If you didn't have that guy be there, Jeff Bridges would have been, performing against a brick wall, or somebody else that maybe would have done it differently, like John Cena.
Well, and what's also amazing about this movie is if you're familiar with Terry Gilliam and you think about Time Bandits of Brazil and you think about all these just super out of this world things, and then you watch this, and for the most part, it's all very straightforward. If you know Terry Gilliam, like you said, there's a lot of the things that are very signature shots for him. But one thing that there's one scene in this movie where they're in like Grand Central Station, and he's waiting for this girl. He's like, she gets off the train at the same time every day. And then when he's following her through the station, suddenly everybody but him and this girl are like ballroom dancing in the train station. It's like, there it is. Now that's a Terry Gilliam movie. Like that's the shot I was waiting for. And then just as quickly as it starts, it ends. And then he's just back in the rush of the train station. And so as much that this is one where I think more about the role, because it would be really easy for me to bump this even up to number one because the movie's so amazing. But really the role that Robin Williams plays in this makes it even better than the fact that it's just a great movie.
Yeah.
I worked with a comedian that worked with him a few times throughout his career, and he told me the story of when he first
Terry
met
Gilliam?
him. No, Robin Williams. And he told me the story. The comedian friend of mine told me the story of when he first met him. That while he was a huge fan of him, he also, my friend, is an addict, a recovering addict. And then he asked Robin, he's like, "Hey, let me ask you a question. When you play, when you he was a different kind of addict than Robin was, and he said, when you were on drugs, was it like, I always pictured it being like how it was in Fisher King, when you would see those visions of like," and he said that Robin turned to him and goes, "That's exactly what it was. Like that was exactly like that. The phrase of like his demons, that was literally what he's like. That's literally what it looked like." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
See, and like the fear that Robin Williams portrays when he sees the Red Knight in Fisher King is so real. Like you feel it in your soul when he sees the Red Knight, and he's so terrified. And it is like this, to him, physical manifestation of his demons and his fears. It's unbelievable how well he sells this role.
Fantastic. All right. So that is your number 2. Right, Fisher King. De Rosario, what do you got for number 2?
Doubtfire.
Mrs.
Doubtfire.
He was
Mrs.
married.
Doubtfire.
He was married and he died. The drink killed him.
The drink killed him.
What's that sound?
Was it a beep?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, my that's the chime on my front door.
Oh, I was like, is there an alarm? Because I usually put an alarm for the timer, and I'm like, the timer hasn't gone. Oh, we haven't done the 5. All right, cool. Mr. Doubtfire, talk about it, David.
Yeah, man, this is matchmaker, make me a match, find me a fight, catch me a. Come on, bro! Like that movie is awesome. It's one of those. It's I think it's one of those movies that it's like signature Robin Williams, bro. Like that is like the filet mignon of what Robin Williams like is, because it's got the little serious drama stuff with the family and the divorce and the comedy, because it's this is spinning a lot of plates, and the pie in the face, the outfit changes.
Hello! It was cake, sir. It was cake.
All right. You know what?
As a fact, I am offended that you would confuse a cake with a pie.
Yeah, you know what? Just call me when the Jeremy Irons Mount Rushmore happens, okay?
No, you're right, but I love Mrs. Doubtfire. It's fantastic. For years, I didn't realize that that James Bond was in this film. Like it took me
exactly the same.
I watched this movie 1,000 times before I was like, "Is that Pierce Brosnan?" Like I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
It added to it for me. I'm like, fucking hilarious. That this I thought it was great. I thought it was funny.
It did come out before GoldenEye.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I didn't know about it. That's why. But like I watched. But the amount of times that I've watched Mrs. Doubtfire, and the amount of times that I watched it like just and then even afterwards I was like, wait a minute, is that fucking Pierce Brosnan? It took me years, bro, years, but it's great. I loved everything from the fact that even in the beginning of the movie, his job was a voiceover actor for cartoons. I thought was perfectly cast. I'm like, that's perfectly written for Robin. And then
Yeah.
years later, he would be an actual fucking voice actor for a cartoon. But it's just fantastic, dude. The way it's done, the way it's made. You're right. The beats of comedy, interchanging between comedy and heartfelt and family. And one of my favorite scenes from that movie is not a comedic scene. One of my favorite scenes from that movie is when he's fucking giving it to his wife and fucking like she's like, oh, he's like, you let that fucking judge sit there and give me that fucking ridiculous sentence that you knew was wrong. Like,
dude, the look in his eyes when he's like, and now to see my kids, I've got to have somebody there, and they question why I'm giving him a hug and why I'm saying the things because he only has supervised visits at that point.
yeah.
That rips my heart out of my chest every single time.
And the way and the fact that he was telling her, he was like, you fucking just sat there and you let him say all these things. You let the judge say, and I was angry even as a kid when because you as a viewer know how he felt about his kids throughout at this point of the movie. And when the judge sits there and goes, I just believe that you're giving me a performance. I'm seeing a performance from a very talented actor. And I'm like, oh fuck you. Like I was so angry for him. And
we're his kids too, god damn it.
Yeah. And when that girl so adorable, Jesus Christ. And she, it's fucking great. And then when I've read up on that movie, on the behind the scenes and the making of, and the girl that played his eldest daughter, she got kicked out of school because she had to take time off to do that movie. And while Robin Williams hand wrote a letter to the dean asking if it's okay for her to take time off, the teacher still said no. The dean, the administrator still said no, but then he fucking framed the note from Robin Williams in his office, and she
What
says,
a dirtbag.
Yeah, and
what a piece of crap.
Yeah, and then she says that I read this online. She said this on at one point she was doing blogs. The actress, she says that she went into the office at one point to tell him something or whatever, and she fucking took the letter off his wall.
Good for her.
Yeah, good for her. So.
That restaurant scene alone at the end, when he's going from table to table.
Oh man, it's brilliant.
It's just there's just so many the whole just the rundown at the employment agency. Like, man, that movie is just again signature Robin Williams. It's like it's the creme de la creme of some of his work.
I agree. All right, so we have Mrs. Okay, so it's my turn, right? Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so this is gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. I'm just gonna go with my gut, man. And the only distinction between my number one and number two is the fact that one of them he's the lead and the other one he's not the lead. So that's how I'm gonna break it down, because to me I think these movies are 1A and 1B are very interchangeable. So I'm gonna go ahead and say Good Will Hunting now as my number two. So Good Will Hunting is I always say that I have a top two favorite films, which is Braveheart and Gladiator, and then the rest are kind of interchangeable, top 5 or top 10. But in recent years, I've come to terms with the fact that Good Will Hunting will probably be my number 3 if I was going to give it a number, like, of all time. I absolutely adore this movie. I saw this movie at the right age. I saw this movie like pretty much when I was in my early 20s, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And it's the movie that to me changed how I viewed Robin Williams. It wasn't his first serious role, but to me it was his best acting wise. It was like, this is fucking other level, man. This is you felt shit. He made me feel shit. He made me laugh, and to learn later on that the scenes in the office where him and Matt Damon are laughing were improvised. The whole thing about his wife farting, that's all improvised. It's just chef's kiss to how how amazing fucking he was as an overall performer, entertainer. But Jesus Christ, that movie's fucking cuts deep. And I come from a good childhood. I come from a good upbringing. So it's not even like, oh man, this shit hits close to home because of all that shit that Will goes through, Will Hunting goes through. But it's just perfect for me. I would classify this as a perfect film. So that's my number 2 is Good Will Hunting. And if you haven't seen it, like Dave hadn't seen it when we met, you should go watch this movie.
Yeah, it was my number 3. I have to think that the only reason why the movie isn't higher on my list is because I didn't see it in I guess a more vulnerable time in my life. But even so, seeing it at 30 years old, like it had such an impact on me. And I think I'm with you. I think that Robin Williams' best acting is in that movie.
Yeah.
That scene, and the thing is, the movie's so well written too. So that the it's not your fault scene every time, man. Every time it's just tears.
There's so many scenes that are perfectly written. The comedy between Matt Damon and Minnie Driver on their dates is fucking like you can't help but fall for these two people. Like, oh man, they're great together. The chemistry that they have on screen. The chemistry that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon have, obviously they're lifelong friends, but that scene where Ben Affleck is like, if 20 years from now I'm still picking you up to fucking go to work, I'll beat your ass myself. Like
that's a great scene.
Such a great scene. He was like, what's wrong with like there's so many scenes that are great. The conversations between the two professors. He's like, what do you think? I'm fucking twirling my mustache, fucking wanting him to. It's so perfect. That movie, there's not a scene that I want to skip. There's not a scene that is like, okay, yeah, let's get to the next. Like it's so fucking well written. You're right. It's the writing is perfect, the acting is perfect, the casting is amazing. Every role I think was perfectly done. All right, so that is my number 2. And it's Dead Poets. Sorry, number 2s were Dead Poet Society, Fisher King, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Good Will Hunting. Now let's get to some honorable mentions. David, what do we got?
All right, my honorable mentions. I'm going to take out some of the ones that were mentioned. So I'm going to go with another drama. What Dreams May Come is one that just like sticks in me. Good Morning Vietnam is an amazing weave of comedy and drama. Father's Day is one that I enjoy. I watch it almost every Father's Day. That's a really cool one. And I know that this movie doesn't get a lot of love, but I particularly love the Popeye movie.
I thought that was gonna make your list. I thought that was gonna actually make your list, and I was so prepared to be like, "Oh my god, Jesus Christ!"
It's well, I mean, it's not good enough to make the list, but it is a movie that I think captures my love of Popeye. I mean, if anyone can play Popeye, it's Robin Williams. And I think that it's perfectly cast. Like Shelley Duvall as Olive Oil is masterful, and the whole town. I mean, it looks like something out of the Thimble Theater, where Popeye originated. So it's fantastic.
Yeah. All right. DeBona, what do you got for honorable mentions?
Most of them have been mentioned here. He did a great job in Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet. Which is just one that you don't think about a lot. Definitely not
Osric,
necessarily.
Right?
Yeah, definitely not one that's going to make the mountain. But it was like nothing I'd seen him do before. Death to Smoochie, I think is one that
such an underrated film, dude. Such an underrated
is one
film.
that I think people don't talk about enough. Just in general, I don't think people talk about Death to Smoochie enough. But is another absolutely amazing role. And one where he played a bit part, but it was a very touching bit part that I absolutely loved. I love him in Night at the Museum when he plays Teddy Roosevelt.
That is a great role.
just that he's there as that great little compass, and just that line, I'm made of wax, Larry, what are you made of? Like that I mean, that just gets me every time. And he, for what he did in that movie, it was really great. So I figured it was worth an honorable mention.
Okay. There was Ario.
I got 3 honorable mentions. Flubber, love it.
Not mad at it.
I just watched it with my kids. I just watched it for the first time. I had never seen the movie, and I watched it with my kids about a week and a half ago.
That's when I saw a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
How was your viewing experience, Neri?
I mean, I took it for what it was. It was a children's movie that I saw at almost 40. So you know what I mean. Like, but I did enjoy. But I'm able to compartmentalize. I'm able to say like, oh, this is a fun kids movie. You know, it's a fun. So my kids enjoyed it. So like that's all. Like I'm the wrong person to ask now because I saw it for the first time. But I'm sure if I would have seen it as a kid, the problem is that movie came out when I was a teenager. So I was like too cool for school. I was like, I'm not gonna watch this. Is a kids movie. I was too cool for school when it first came out. At almost 40, watching it with my kids,
it took your breath away. I get it. Jumanji,
the flying car. I was like, why don't we call this movie the Flying Car Movie? What the fuck, dude? What this Flubber bullshit? He has a flying car.
Chitty Bang Bang was taken.
Yeah.
My second honorable is Jumanji.
Fuck yeah! What year is it?
And 96. Right?
Yeah.
It's a line from the movie.
That's a line from the movie. Like,
what year is it? You know, David Alan Grier has my favorite line in that movie, and it's not even like a memorable one. But when the Vine comes and takes his squad car and crunches it up and pulls it in, he goes, "Fine, take it." I don't know why his delivery in that line is just so perfect.
That movie, like my daughter's 10 now, but when she was like 4 or 5, that showed up on Netflix and it became like a regular rotation staple, like in the house, to the point that she became obsessed with bats because they fly out of the chimney at one point in that movie.
But that's it's one of those where who rolled a 7? Was it a 7 or an 8?
Yeah, who rolled a number on a die?
Yeah. Who rolled? And then he comes out with the beard, and then they got to figure out the game with the Safari guy. It was amazing.
Who's also his dad? Fantastic.
Yeah. Was that his real dad?
It was the same actor.
Oh, right. That's it. Yeah, that's right.
It was Robin Williams Sr. played the role. Yeah.
Wait a second, and then my last one is toys.
God, I forgot about
I forgot about that.
So you know what? I have never seen Toys as an adult. I saw Toys when it came out, and I believe it came out in 92. So I was like 11 years old, and based upon the title, I thought it was gonna be like a kids movie. It was fucking not.
It is not.
It was not. And I remember thinking this movie sucks, and I haven't gone back to watch it since it came out, and I only watched it that one time as a kid, and it's not a kids movie because it's fucking called Toys, and it has Robin Williams in it. You think it's a fucking kids movie? But
oh my God, I didn't even think about that one.
But I thought about Toys, and I remember saying to myself, I have to rewatch this movie because I haven't seen it as an adult, so I had to give it its fair shot. But Toys, good one.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of cool things in the movie. You got LL Cool J. He does like all these like camouflage things.
Yeah, I remember the camouflage. He comes out of the fucking wall and he's like all dressed in red, and like a red beret. I'm like, really? That's okay.
Yeah. And no, and just the way that it's shot too. It's a very like weird, very strange kind of movie especially for like a 92 movie to look the way that movie did, and for it just to feel and yeah, as strange as it was just one of those movies that kind of like really like stuck with me. But it wasn't gonna make the mountain, but I definitely thought I should like at least bring it up.
Barry Levinson did that one. The same guy who did Good Morning Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
My honorable mentions are, I was gonna say Flubber, but since you already mentioned it, I'll say movies that some of these movies aren't really great, but they have either a great performance from him or a good premise that I don't know what went wrong, but the movie didn't really work, but it was still interesting. And I find those picks interesting. And since you guys have already said pretty much all the other A+ titles, some of them, are not A plus, but I go with Men of the Year. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was a great premise. His acting was good, but the movie somehow wasn't great either. Like it was just, I guess, okay. It was fine. It was one of those like it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. But it's not good and it's not bad. And I don't know what, but I don't know. Like I've rewatched that movie, like but the premise is so strong about somebody entering the presidential campaign as a fucking joke and then actually winning because of a computer glitch. I think that's an excellent premise, and it speaks. If you watch it now, it fucking hits harder now when it came out. Because when somebody enters when a reality show, because that's what he was in the movie, he was a fucking comedian / reality show character. When a reality show character enters the presidential race, you don't expect him to win, and when he does, like, oh shit, goes to like that's not the way it's supposed to be. But the movie came out in 2006, so it's ahead of its time. Another movie that I introduced to David, and this is the movie that him and I didn't want to give him my review on it, but we came up with the same review. Final Cut.
Oh yeah.
Super interesting premise. The Rosario, I don't know if you know what it is, but it's basically when people are born, they put something in their brain where it records every segment it records every instance of their life, and then when they die, there's a position that they take all the digital fucking whatever, and they make it like a reel at the end of somebody's funeral.
Okay.
And the people you can't get this as an adult, it has to be done as a baby, and all this stuff. There, the premise is super fucking cool, but it just doesn't work for whatever reason. And me and David have had this conversation where like his acting is amazing. It's like his acting is like it's great. Nothing against Robin himself, but for some reason the movie just doesn't work. The premise is great, the acting is great. I don't know what it is, but it's an interesting, if anything, it's an interesting view just for the premise and the fact that it's Robin Williams.
I think it's one of those things where it's like the idea is fantastic, but it's not exactly explored to like its potential.
Right.
You know,
maybe
not sure. It's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah. That's a great one.
All right, so there's Men of the Year, Final Cut. What was the other one that I was gonna say that you guys hadn't said yet?
You said Flubber too.
Flubber. I was gonna say Flubber, yeah. And this movie, I know I'm gonna get shit for, and that's why it's an honorable. That's not why, but it's an honorable mention. But this movie gets shit on for being quote too sappy or being too whatever the fuck it is. But I legitimately, and in all fairness, I haven't gone back to watch it since its release. But I had a great time watching Patch Adams.
I really like Patch Adams.
I really like Patch Adams, but that's another one that people think, oh, it's too cheesy, it's too corny, it's too like sappy, it's too blah blah blah. And I'm like, but it really happened though. This is based on a true story. It actually fucking happened.
But there's something. You're right, because there's something about Patch Adams, like you're talking about, like that's the way these movies are, right? Like there's something about it that just keeps you from thinking. It kind of bangs on all cylinders, and that's Patch Adams for me. Like you're right. It's a true story. It's a great story. It's well acted. There's something about that movie that makes it. I don't know.
People, I think
maybe it is just too saccharine.
I remember at the time of the movie came out, I remember people's gripe was that it was too sappy and that it was too much over the top. Like, oh, really? The fucking doctor's gonna have clown shoes, and it's like, but he did though. Like, it's not. It's so fucking. I don't know. It's so, but I get it. People, I think it's one of those things where, the Tropic Thunder speech where he goes, you can't go full mentally challenged, which is not what he says.
Which is not
what he says. But I'm cleaning it up because I don't want to get canceled. You can't go full mentally challenged, and I think that when people see movies of an actor going full mentally challenged, that people have that same like, oh, really? Like it felt like it was Oscar bait. It felt like it was forced upon us, and maybe that's what Patch Adams feels like to some people, where it's like it feels like too much. It's like, oh, dude, I
think it's the same critique that a lot of people have about 7 Pounds, with Will Smith, which is
I
a
fucking
spectacular-
love 7 Pounds.
I love 7 Pounds, but everybody's complaint was that exact thing. It's like, we get it, you want an Oscar, and so there was a completely undeserved backlash against 7 Pounds because it felt like Oscar bait.
It's so good. Yeah, fuck, it's so good. All right, that's a downer too. That's a downer. A downer of a movie, man. Like, hey, let's get some popcorn and fucking watch.
One
7
more I
Pounds
forgot to
get
mention.
laid.
It's I had one more honorable mention, but I just realized that everybody's number one, so I won't be spoiling anything. But it's Insomnia, which is one of the other, like bad guy suspense movies he did. But that one wasn't as much about him carrying it as much as it was about his interactions with Al Pacino. But it was a Christopher Nolan film, which I tend to forget.
Yeah. So not all of Christopher Nolan's are hits. All right. It's good. I've tried to watch Insomnia as an adult because when the movie came out, I was like in my late teens. So I've tried to go back now and give it a watch, and I can't. I don't know if this is. And in all fairness, I tried to watch it last year, in which I was at my heaviest that I've ever been. So my sleep apnea was through the fucking roof. Where all I had to do was sit down for 5 seconds and be like, "I'm out." I could not watch. I was trying to watch Insomnia and falling asleep at every fucking.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't hold up. There's something about Insomnia that keeps it from being as intriguing as it should be, and that's why I went with 1 Hour Photo over Insomnia.
There's something about Insomnia that makes me go to sleep. Watch the fucking movie, but I know we're in a minority, bro, because that movie is highly well criticized. That's well. All right, so let's go to our number ones.
Round 1. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back.
Do it! Come on!
All right, we got to our number ones. Let's see. We already know the number ones. Everybody should already know the number ones. So let's.
I believe so. Yeah.
David, what is your number one?
My number one was tabled early on, and it's The Birdcage. So I, although Dead Poets Society means more to me on a personal level, Mr. Keys, as a teacher, he spoke to me. The Birdcage, I think, is his funniest performance. I've seen the movie countless times. I've lost track of how many times I've seen the movie, and yet I still blurt out laughing, like for real, laugh out loud every time I watch this movie. And it's fortunate that this is such a great ensemble because Robin Williams works so well.
Is mom almost home? Is mom?
Robin Williams works so well off of everyone, particularly Nathan Lane, but he's so good at being a team player because so often he's like the star, right? And he is the reason why you go see a movie. But to see him be part of an ensemble and do so well with that, whether he's playing off of Nathan Lane or Hank Azaria or Gene Hackman, he's still stealing the scene, but he's doing it while playing off of this other amazing actor. And I mean, there's nothing that comes out of his mouth. There's nothing that he does that doesn't make me laugh. From trying to show the male dancer on stage, the guy who keeps blowing bubbles with his bubble gum while Nathan Lane's trying to dance with him, teaching him how to dance. The whole fussy, but internalize it, keep it inside. To the cooking. Hank Azaria is like, but what about the shrimp? Fuck the shrimp, and he takes the whole fucking pot out with him. Every single thing he does is hilarious. I love this movie, and I think it should be like required viewing for humans.
This movie was my number 4, I believe. And the only reason it was my number 4 is only because I enjoy the other movies I have on my list more so. However, this is not a knock on The Birdcage. It's a great movie. I will say, to off of what David was talking about now, it's hard to call this his funniest performance when he wasn't the funniest one in this movie. Nathan Lane, to me is the funniest one in this movie. And it's meant to be like that's the way it's written.
Right.
It's part of the story. It's the architect. It's the way the characters work. He is playing, for lack of a better phrase, he's playing the straight man to
Right.
the comedic straight man to Nathan Lane's funny guy. But yeah, that's he's Nathan Lane is what makes this movie to me. This I believe, if I'm not mistaken, maybe I am. But when I was a kid, I think this was my introduction, at least my conscious introduction to Nathan Lane. I did not know who Nathan Lane was prior to this movie, and it's so fucking good. Like I just you know,
I knew him. I knew him as Timon, but I didn't know him.
Right, I didn't know he was Timon.
Right, exactly.
So while I knew Timon, I didn't know that was Nathan Lane, much less, that's what Nathan Lane looks like. So to me, this was my introduction to Nathan Lane, and I thought it was just fucking. But everything about this movie is magical. Everything about this movie is just
you do have like a great point in, you know, that Nathan Lane is kind of like the standout, you know, wherever he goes, because that's what the character calls for. But
he's the flamboyant one.
Right, exactly. You know, I've come to realize as I've gotten older that the comedic straight man, you know, the guy who sets up the jokes and all that, he's the one who I typically end up gravitating towards in these movies. I know I've mentioned this before, but you know, with Star Wars, I used to prefer R2-D2, thinking that he was the funny guy. And at some point I was like, oh no, man, it's C-3PO. You know, he's playing the straight man, and he's the one who's really making the situation fantastic.
C-3PO is the only one making jokes. You can't understand beats and bops, motherfucker. Like the fact that you're laughing is because of what C-3PO is saying in English.
Exactly. But as a kid, you don't realize this because the one that's over the top is R2-D2. So at least for me, it was like that, and I think he plays it so well. You know, your introduction to Nathan Lane when he's freaking out in his bedroom. You know, the whole, you know, I've yo-yoed from a size 4 to a 12 back to a 4. You know, and he goes, look at me. You know, whatever I am, you've made me. You know, this short, fat thing you see before you, and he says, I made you short. You know, like that's so fucking great. You know,
I
like, what are you doing giving her drugs? You know, it's just the aspirin with the A and the S script off.
Brains. I love when he was like, think John Wayne, and he starts walking. And he goes, what, did I do it wrong? And he's like, no, I just never realized John Wayne walked away. Like it's just
that's one of the best lines of the movie.
I fucking love that. That's a great movie, man. Great movie. Yeah. It was my number 4, David's number 1. DeBono, what do you got for your number 1, man?
I'd just like to point out, I'm really sorry if there's been the reason you keep having to mute my mic is apparently I have not actually been using the mic that's in front of me. I've been using my laptop's internal mic. So that's why when I mute my mic, nothing has happened. So I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I kind of got that because I saw you like.
I kept trying to figure out why you needed to mute my mic when I had it muted in front of me. So I finally went and checked my settings, and it was using my laptop mic.
I would see you press on the fucking mute button or press on something, and I'm like, he's not. I thought that you were just missing the button, and I was like, all right.
Yeah, no. Apparently, it just wasn't set to be using the mic in front of me. So you know, what are you gonna do? All right. So my number 1 has been brought up. We talked about it, you know, kind of at length when we did movie teachers. But my number 1 is Dead Poet Society.
This was my number 2.
And this is one where this role is so tied to me as a person that I can never escape this.
Oh, we lost him. Is it a coincidence that we lost him when he was talking about Dead Poets?
All right, so I guess I'll take over since it was my number 2. And we spoke about this, DeBona and I, when we talked about teachers, film teachers or fictional teachers. I forget exactly which one it was. But Dead Poet Society affected both of us to the point that, you know, even though we may have already been considering going into the educational field, it kind of pushed us into that realm. he plays such an incredible teacher who he gives everything that he is to his students as Mr. Keating. He's the kind of teacher that you want to have in class, because he will always like go to bat for you, and like he gladly gives of himself to do whatever is necessary for his student, including losing his job. He understands that, like, I'm leaving now. I'm not taking this personally, but I'm doing it for you. And I know that in me doing this like final act, I am still teaching you something. It's a movie that I think, Neri, had you seen it younger, kind of like why Good Will Hunting is lower on my list as opposed to being higher on my list. It might be a movie that resonates more.
Well, the movie doesn't resonate with me, and it's not the movie's fault. It's because I saw Good Will Hunting for years, and I was infatuated with. There was a time where I was infatuated with Good Will Hunting, and I asked a friend of mine, "Is there another movie?" And I didn't ask him for Robin Williams movies. I just said, "Is there another movie that is in the vein of Good Will Hunting? Like, is there something else that I could see, that I could watch?" Because I was so encapsulated by, I'm sorry, I was so infatuated by Good Will Hunting and everything about it that I wanted to watch more of it, more like it. Like, like things like what we take for granted now, and like when you go and you watch a movie and it says other films you may like, and it gives you suggestions. We didn't have that back then, so I would ask people like, "Oh, what other movies, like, do you like Good Will Hunting?" Yes. Okay, well then, do you know of other movies? And in all fairness, I was asking this question because I myself was writing a movie script, and so I was like trying to, like, at one point I downloaded the script for Good Will Hunting, and I was like, I want to try to like get into that kind of like mindset. And so they go, "Oh, Dead Poet Society." And so then I watched Dead Poet Society after at the recommendation of somebody that said it was similar to Good Will Hunting. And it was again, putting this on me. This is not Dead Poet Society's fault. This is not the movie's fault. There's nothing wrong with the movie. It's just that I was already putting it up against Good Will Hunting, and in my mind at that time, there was no comparison.
I think. Well, you're right. There is no comparison because I think that the movies work on totally different wavelengths.
Absolutely. The idea of just, like the one-on-one like counselor mentor role versus the teacher who's over an entire class, I think is a different animal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not if you're looking at it from the perspective of just a teaching perspective, but that I wasn't like comparing apples to. I was comparing like the general, what the movie made me feel, and the movie did not make me feel. Dead Poet Society did not make me feel what Good Will Hunting. Again, this is not the movie's fault. I'm putting this on me,
right? Well, see, what I always go back to with Dead Poet Society is the barbaric yop scene. Like, that's when he tells everybody that they have to write a poem, and then Ethan Hawke shows up to class and he hasn't done it, and he forces Ethan Hawke to write this poem in the middle of class, like in front of everybody. And he does it by introducing him to this line of, to give forth the barbaric yop, and he makes him do it, and he does it, and he keeps at him until he actually does it in a way that he feels is coming from somewhere deep down inside. And then he covers his eyes and he's spinning him around and he's telling him to just ignore everybody and to just say what comes from inside of him. And he ends up creating this this piece of poetry, this moment that was completely beyond who he thought he was as a person. That's what gets me. That's the scene that will forever and always put this movie on top of so many other things, is because of that scene where he found the guy who thought he wasn't even capable of doing it, and then pushed him to realize that he was. And not only was he capable of doing it, he was capable of doing it without even thinking about it. Like, that's what it came down to, right? It was about channeling what was inside of you. And so that scene is what will always keep this movie at the very top of my list.
It's kind of like when when I asked somebody for to recommend a Star Trek movie, and their recommendation was Nemesis.
That person is not your friend.
No,
Who is that? Who is that
We'll
person?
talk about that afterwards, but it's literally not my friend anymore. But no, that actually happened. And so when they go, you gotta watch Nemesis, like they were so emphatic about it. You gotta watch Nemesis. I'm like, okay, so I watched Nemesis. I'm like, this movie fucking sucks. And so I thought, if this is the best that Star Trek has to offer, fuck Star Trek. I'm out. I'm not watching this shit again.
If I had started with Nemesis, I would not be drinking my cafecito out of a Star Trek cup right now.
Yeah. So again, not the franchise's fault. It's one of those things where because people recommended this after asking for recommendations after Good Will Hunting. I just unfairly compared it to Good Will Hunting. Good Will Hunting in my mind was so high. It's a personal thing. It was like it was so high for me.
You're not gonna get out of Dead Poet Society what you got out of Good Will Hunting, because I don't think you're supposed to.
Right. It's I mean, like I said, it's a different animal.
Yeah,
it's
they're
just
different.
that idea of
I get it.
I know.
But it's I don't know. Like if they would have recommended Mr. Holland's Opus, I would have said that's a better comparison to me. If you enjoyed Go Will Hunting, you'll also enjoy Mr. Holland's Opus. To me, that's a more compare. I'm gonna guess. I get where the comparison comes in, or they're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, that's like it's that mentor versus classroom teacher thing.
Dangerous Minds.
Yeah, but Mr. Holland's Opus is also a classroom teacher.
That's true.
So
just like Dangerous Minds.
But you're looking at it from the perspective of a teacher.
Dangerous Minds is more like
is more like
Good Will Hunting. I think
there wasn't the cool music video for Good Will Hunting. All right. So that was the bonus. No, yeah, that was the bonus number one. The Rosario.
It's like I had like literally there's nothing about Aladdin. Come on.
Yeah.
Aladdin, bro. Like literally like it's like from the very first line, man. 10,000 years will give you such a. I mean, come on. It's like he does everything in this movie, and it's just his voice.
Let me ask you a question. How did you feel about the Will Smith Aladdin?
I guess it's just a different take. Did
you like it? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it was?
I didn't see the whole movie. I saw parts of it. I saw.
That's a telltale.
No, I mean, and I liked it. And this was my number 3. I thought he was great because I wasn't expecting him to try to be Robin Williams. I never come into a remake or anything like that as okay. Now do the same thing the person before you did. I thought the Will Smith was.
When I see Total Recall remake, I need to see titties, my friend. I need to see that third titty. I'm sorry, bro. You got to show me that third titty. I'm not watching no Total Recall with a bunch of 2-titty women. I need one 3-titty women.
What if it was a bunch of 3-titted women?
Tell him, brother.
Tell him, brother.
That would be how you improve upon the original.
No,
right. We're doing Total Recall. We don't have Schwarzenegger. However,
everyone
has 3 titties. Even the men. The men have 2.
I need the third titty to be in the back for the slow dancing. That's what I need it for. So that's a Al Bundy joke, by the way. Anyways, so Aladdin, yeah.
I think that the Will Smith, when I saw some of the musical numbers for the movie, I didn't watch the movie because I was like, I don't need to watch this movie. But I saw some of the Will Smith stuff, and I was like, he added his own spin to it. But man, the stuff that he did, Robin Williams did with that character, it was just it's another signature Robin Williams performance, and like again, and you guys keep saying something that I keep hearing when we're talking about these Robin Williams movies. It has a lot to do with the era that you saw the movie, like because he's been making movies for such a long time. You could either be a teenager when you watch this particular movie and it affected you this way. Like Aladdin in I think it was 96 that it came out. Am I
92?
92?
I think it was before then. Yeah.
So around then it was just like this time where I saw, and he's just does this crazy character of the genie, and it just blows you away because it makes you laugh as a kid, and he does like every voice possible, and then the story arc is so cool, and the animation, the Disney animation, but that's where like that stuck out to me like right away. Like you said, you were like, "Yo, we're doing it with Robin Williams, Mount Rushmore." I was just like, "Well, like Aladdin, number one, duh." You know, for me at least.
Absolutely. And like I said, when I brought this up as my number 3, I think this is the closest we ever got to seeing the let's call it the bright side of what was happening inside of Robin Williams' head, right? Like,
sure, yeah.
This was, and from everything I've read about this movie, like when he first started doing it, they actually had to rewrite a lot of Genie's stuff just to keep up with Robin Williams, because he would get on the mic and he would start reading and then he would start ad-libbing, and they had to adjust the movie to keep up with him because they had this idea of what
hell on animators' wrists.
They had this idea of what he could do and what he would do when he became Genie, but they didn't realize that he would become Genie. That this role would become, completely inseparable from Robin Williams, the comedian. This was the child-friendly version of all of that comedic relief stuff and all of the stream of conscious comedy that he used to do. And it became the animated, family-friendly version of that. And when he got on mic to do Genie, they couldn't stop him. He just kept going, and they eventually went back and adjusted the movie to just be Genie and it became Robin Williams wasn't playing Genie. It was, we need to make Genie be Robin Williams. And the only reason that I, like I said, I had it at number 3 was just because of the fact that it's animated, but I mean that's him. That's his role, and everything he did is so good. He did all of his own singing. Friend Like Me and all of that. He sold all of that just so amazingly well. And it became this really pinnacle of what you can do as a voice actor, and the fact that you can turn these roles into you instead of necessarily just becoming that role. Instead of Robin Williams becoming Genie became Robin Williams, and I think that's what makes it a standout voice acting role.
Yeah.
Faux
show. Definitely one of his most fun roles. That transcends age.
Absolutely.
That movie, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of movies, to some of which I've made defense of. It's like, well, it's a kids movie, like Flubber. It's like, oh, it's a kids movie. It's not. I'm not the target audience, so on and so on. And that's true for a lot of movies. They're not made. There are some movies that are not made for kids. There are some movies that are made for kids. But I think Genie's role transcends that. It's like one of those things where Aladdin itself transcends age, because and like a lot of other Disney movies do too. It's not, but the reason why Aladdin transcends age is because of Robin Williams, his role in Genie. My number 1 is a movie equally as fun as his performance in it, is equally as fun as Genie's Aladdin.
You're wrong for that lead up.
It's What Dreams May Come. So if you watch What Dreams May Come, but it is. I love What Dreams May Come. It is a fucking downer of a movie. It is such a serious movie. It is such a downer of a movie. But I've rewatched this movie multiple times. I don't know what that says about me.
It says something.
I can't bring
friend.
myself to watch this again.
I
love it. It's incredible.
Like you say, you don't go back and rewatch 1 Hour Photo. Man, What Dreams May Come just is so emotionally tolling.
Oh, I never said I don't go back to rewatch. I just said I haven't. David's the one's like, it's too dark for me. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? I have no idea what that means. I've never. I do acknowledge that What Dreams May Come is a heavy movie. I wouldn't call it dark. I would call it a heavy movie. But I've rewatched it multiple times. I've bought this on every single format there is imaginable to buy, except for Betamax, because I wasn't alive when that was around. I owned it on fucking VHS. I owned it on DVD. I owned it on Blu-ray. I own it now on digital. And I will continue fucking buying this. I didn't own it on Laserdisc because I did not have a Laserdisc player because I'm poor, motherfucker. That shit was expensive. But I legitimately love this movie. I've shown this movie to multiple people in my life throughout the years. All of them who have thanked and cursed me out simultaneously. My wife included. She was like, "Why the fuck are you showing me this movie?" And I think it's a beautiful movie. Definitely deals with fucking super heavy themes.
Heavy.
But I think the beauty of it, especially when you get to the end, I think is worth the journey. Because I don't. If the movie would have ended on a negative or it would have ended on a heavy or dark theme or however you want to say, whatever phrase you want to use, is one thing. But the movie ends, and the message of the movie is, I mean, at one point they were like, he takes a tour. He passed away in an accident. His kids had passed away, and then his wife takes her own life. It's a whole series of issues. Like this poor family. But they learn throughout the journey in the afterlife, they learn that him and his wife were true soulmates, and it's something that they acknowledge in the movie. It's very rare, doesn't usually ever happen, but this is the reason why he's able to save his wife. Spoiler alert. But it's a fantastic movie. The effects were fucking mind-blowing at the time.
Beautiful. Not even just at the time. Like the effects of that movie and the way it's shot. I mean, that the beauty of that movie absolutely holds up.
Oh no, it absolutely holds up. But at that time, like you watch that movie now and you go, "Oh man, that's beautiful." At that time, it was like, "How the fuck what kind of sorcery is this?"
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It all goes back to
In a
like
painting?
the art design, the set design.
Yes,
I mean, it's incredible.
I thought he was in a painting, bro. I thought he was in a fucking painting. I was like, they put Robin Williams in a painting. How the fuck they put Robin Williams in a painting? Same thing with the kid in the fucking movie The Witches. I was like, they put that kid in a painting? How the fuck they put that kid in a painting? Like that's how real that shit was to me. And I'm not saying the effects don't hold up because they absolutely hold up, and especially because these are. I'm glad this is. It's not by any means. It's not one of the most popular Robin Williams films, or critically acclaimed or anything. But I'm glad that this is one of the movies that they keep enhancing with, like, oh, you know what I mean? When they moved it to Blu-ray or when they moved it to DVD, it wasn't just a simple file transfer. It was like they enhanced it for DVD, and when they did the same thing for Blu-ray,
you're right.
they enhanced
This
it for Blu-ray.
53% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah,
I know,
it's weird.
I know all about it, brother.
What is going on there?
I know all about them. Trust me, because I feel that the reason why the critics didn't like it is for the same reason they didn't like Patch Adams. They felt that it was too much of like the emotional, like what you said that they say about Spielberg, that they overly emotional and all this stuff there. But I think this fucking movie was perfect. I think it was such a beautiful movie, and it's very easy to think of this movie as a dark movie if you're just looking at the journey and not the outcome. Because the outcome of the movie, the reason why he goes through hell, literally hell, is because of true love and because of soulmates. And listen, I'm a jaded, soon to be 40-year-old man. I don't necessarily believe in soulmates anymore. But at the time that this movie came out, I absolutely believed in soulmates. And that's nothing to say. That makes it seem as if I fucking have a problem with my wife and shit. Like
Vanessa comes flying in behind you, and just punches you in the
that's not what
back
I'm
of the
talking
skull.
about now. I'm a little bit more cynical where I'm like, really, you're gonna find your soulmate in the fucking same city you live in? Like, what are the fucking odds, right? You know what I mean? You find somebody you love and you take care of, and you fucking take care of each other, and that's beautiful and that's great. But anyways, but I think it's a beautiful movie. I think it's a beautiful message. I think it's fucking fantastic. And I think a lot of it, when people think of this movie, it's kind of like the movie Stepmom. When people think of this movie, they think of like all the fucking heavy pitfalls, and I'm like, yeah, but the end was fucking cool.
It is. The end is beautiful. I mean, it's the kind of movie that it's a fairy tale, but it gives you hope that it isn't.
Right. Yeah. No. And when you talk about the cinema, this movie won an Oscar, I believe, for the cinematography or the visual effects or whatever. And you can see the ripple effect of so many things that they did in this movie bleed through to other movies that came after it. This movie came out in the late 90s, right?
Yeah.
And but I mean, like, you look forward 10 years plus, and you see what was that Peter Jackson movie, Lovely Bones? And it's like, yo, a lot of this was just straight ripped from What Dreams May Come. Like, when you look at the visual effects and stuff like that.
I and again, the only reason I put this, because to me, this movie and Good Will Hunting are, to me, the same in the sense of quality. They're both amazing films. The only reason I put this as my number one over Good Will Hunting, which I didn't even think I was going to do, is because it's a bigger role. It's a leading role. And that's the only, I mean, that's very superficial.
1A, 1B.
Yeah, because you could literally go, yeah, but he won the Oscar. We're really getting, and you'd be right too. You wouldn't be wrong. But the only reason is because it's a bigger role. But I really fucking enjoy. I watch this movie. I'm not gonna say I watch it every year, but every couple of years I watch this movie. I've watched this movie fucking often. And kind of like what you were talking about, One Hour Photo. Whenever I met somebody who hadn't seen the movie, I fucking put it on for them. And it's usually a woman, right? Like my cousin is another one, and she was fucking in tears, and she was like, "Why the fuck are you showing me this?" And my wife walked in, and she's like, "Right, I fucking like." But anybody who knows me, man, I'm a fucking sappy dude. I love love, and I love talking about love. I love watching movies about love. So I'm fine with all of this shit. That's why I love Patch Adams. To me, if it's sappy, it's fine. I'm okay. I'm okay with sappy. Cheesy, not too much, or corny, not really. But I think there's a difference between those three types of movies, and I'm down for the sap. So that's my number one. All right, so number ones are, that's the longest I've gone on about a fucking pick in a while. The number one were let's see here, is Birdcage, Dead Poet Society, Aladdin, and What Dreams May Come. So we had Aladdin as a double. We had Birdcage as a double. I believe we had Dead Poet Society as a double as well, correct?
Those all also had number one votes. So
Dead Poets Society. So we have Dead Poets Society had 2, right? Am I correct?
Yeah. I'm just saying all 3 of those were also somebody's number one.
But so did Mrs. Doubtfire. Mrs. Doubtfire had a double, and that wasn't a number one. So we can't put What Dreams May Come on there.
But is that it? There were four.
Let's see. Hold on. Birdcage.
I think
Fisher King.
Yeah. Right. So if if we do kind of like the point system, right? The 3 that all had number one votes,
they're in.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Fisher King had a 2 and a 4,
and Mrs. Doubtfire had a 2 and a 3.
So 2 and a 3 outranks a 2 and a 4.
Doubtfire. Yeah,
it's got to be Doubtfire.
Yeah, hold on. Let me double check. Mrs. Fire had a 3, and then over here it had a 2. Yeah, I had a 2 and a 3.
Yeah, so Doubtfire's in, Fisher King's out.
So Aladdin, the final mountain is Aladdin, Birdcage, Dead Poet Society, and Mrs. Doubtfire.
That's pretty damn
solid ass list.
Wait a minute. Am I the only one that had Good Will Hunting? No, we both had
Good
Will Hunting.
Oh, yes,
Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting also.
Yeah.
Wait, what were the votes on Good Will Hunting?
2 and 3.
2 and 3 as well.
So that's the same as Fisher King had 2 and 4. Doubtfire had 2 and 3. So right now we need to argue between Doubtfire and Good Will Hunting.
I'd say Good Will Hunting.
I'm gonna say Doubtfire is like the iconic one, but I gotta say Good Will Hunting's a better movie.
Listen,
but as a Robin Williams vehicle, okay. Now here's the thing, though, right? As a Robin Williams vehicle, is Doubtfire more deserving?
If we're gonna get on that level, then Aladdin shouldn't be here either. So you're gonna open.
But I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So
it's a slippery
at the point, okay, it is a slippery slope. But I'm saying point system wise, if they have the same amount of points,
right?
Doubtfire is a bigger Robin Williams vehicle.
But we're only giving points based upon location on your list, not how many lines he had in the movie.
Right.
Because if we gave points based upon that, then you know what I mean. Like it's not this. It's not.
I would take out. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy for saying this, but I'd take out Dead Poet Society. No offense but I mean, like,
bury that, son. It's got number one votes. It ain't happening. That's got 1 and 2 votes. Back down.
Yeah.
Depo Society goes nowhere.
By the
I will agree
numbers,
with you,
by the numbers, we can't take out one that's a number one.
We can
I was
argue
gonna replace.
Doubtfire.
I was gonna replace Dead Poet Society with Good Will Hunting. I just keep it at Aladdin, Birdcage, and Doubtfire.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that one, but it's hard to rule out a number one and a number two. It's very
No
difficult.
worries. I trust the system.
I personally agree with you, De Rosario. I think that you are my champion, and I agree with you. However, it is I can't
A point system that we've established in the past, but right now, so like I said, so Doubtfire and Good Will Hunting are tied for points and the last spot.
I say that it goes to
his performance. His performance in Good Will Hunting is better. I'm not disagreeing with that. I was just so you're right. Whether or not it's a vehicle
Mrs.
for him.
Doubtfire made for him, like absolutely, but his performance is still better in
Agreed.
Good Will Hunting.
Absolutely agreed. I was just playing devil's advocate, but I 100% agree. His
the
performance
fucking devil is what you were playing.
Just straight up the devil, not even his advocate, just the devil. Diablo.
Yeah, so the final mountain, I was gonna let you talk all you want, but I was like, yeah, I'm putting Good Will Hunting in there. you say whatever you want to say, baby. I'm gonna let you talk, but it's gonna be Good Will Hunting. Aladdin, Birdcage, Dead Poet Society, and Good Will Hunting, which is a good mix of drama and comedy.
It is.
And
go watch Fisher King if you haven't seen it though.
This is so weird because Dead Poet Society, because I technically every one of my movies was repeated. Every one of my movies on my list was repeated. However, Dead Poet Society was repeated at a higher, you know what I mean? So I didn't get a perfect mountain because somebody else repeated another movie higher than what my movies were repeated. So which is weird because that's never happened to me before. I've never gotten all four of my picks tabled. Actually, no. What dreams may come. That's not true. I didn't. Have
there you go.
I didn't have a perfect mountain. I take that back.
Is that Robin Williams in a painting?
He's a painting, bro. Look at him. That's him. That shit is great. I'm gonna watch that fucking movie right now, bro. I fucking love that movie.
All right, Derek, calm down. Jesus.
Thank you guys for checking us out. We appreciate that. We appreciate you. Look, we're doing this out of love for Robin Williams. We are absolute all diehard fans of Robin Williams. So we appreciate you guys checking us out. On a serious note, which we usually don't do we don't do serious. Look at him. He has a picture of Robin Williams,
the man,
framed. De Rosario has a picture of Robin Williams framed in his house.
Vipers.
In his house. So we usually don't get serious on the podcast, but I would be reluctant to not mention the fact that he took his own life. He had a disease. He had a mental disease, and you could read about it. I'm not going to get too dark about it, but we did want to post up the phone number to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and it's 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255.
And if there's anything we can do on this podcast, it's overshare and maybe just tell. But I can tell you personally that if you call this number, the people who answer, they listen and they're very understanding, and it helps a lot. Just know that outside of the usual talk of who else is this going to affect, regardless of who you are, the world is a better place because you are in it. And calling this number is if this is anything that's ever kind of that's ever crossed your mind, even if it's not something like where you're right on that verge, if it's ever crossed your mind, calling this number, you will be met with people who are very understanding and will make you understand more so than just some strangers or just your friends talking on a podcast, maybe even that you're here for a reason, and you being here makes the world a better place. So if this is something that is personal for you or that has ever crossed your mind, I highly recommend giving this number a call, even if it's just somebody to talk to for a few minutes.
Yeah. And their website is suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Suicidepreventionlifeline.org. And again, that number is 1-800-273-8255. 8255. So thank you very much for checking us out. We appreciate you guys checking us out. We appreciate Robin. It's been 7 years since his passing, and the anniversary of his death is going to be coming up now soon in August. So we want to say thank you, Robin, for everything you did and for the hours and years of entertainment that you provided us. So thank you so much. Thank you guys for checking us out. Make sure you guys check out Geekmore on all forms. If you are listening to the audio version, go check out the video version on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. Everything is /MT.Geekmore. So whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, just go to Facebook or YouTube.com/MT.Geekmore. Check it out. Thank you guys very much for checking us out. Check out David's social media, De Rosario. He's a great stand-up comedian at David Funny Stuff. So make sure you guys check that out. He's got a couple projects that are pretty big in the works. I'm not sure if you can mention it right now, but just know very happy for him. So make sure you check him out. It's very funny.
If I can just real quick, I actually do a movie watch along that you can see on YouTube. And basically, you can watch a movie, and then my wife, Anne-Marie Lee, and I, we basically just, kind of mystery science theater the movie and do a DVD commentary, if you will, on certain movies and just give our own, stand-up comedian kind of spin on these movies. It's called the Comic Cinema Commentary. We've done movies like Men in Black, Beetlejuice, Poltergeist, and it's on YouTube, and we're under Pretentious Liquid.
Nice. Nice. And check out the other podcasts on the Geek Bro Network. Go to geekbro.net. Check out the other podcasts, such as Pero Let Me Tell You, the What's Up Bro podcast. Shivers coming back, which I'm very super excited about that. A Dose of Ellie, a Child Like a Best with Mike Valdez. And I'm finishing up Seasons this week. From the time of this recording, in 3 days, we will finish up season 1 of Seasons, a TV podcast, and we have another podcast that's going to be done soon. So make sure you guys check that out. Go to geekbro.net. Check out the other podcasts on the Geek Bro Network, geekbro.net. Thank you very much. That's how lists are made, y'all.